and discussions that we have had with the licensee. The Commission had a mediation scheduled with the licensee today. They had their attorney present to be at the mediation. The attorney is representing them as they were unavailable. They are allowed to do so. During that conversation, I gave a recap of the community concerns that were discussed at our last General Commission meeting in November, and also explained to them that the community deserved a better presentation than what was given to us in November. The representative for the licensee agreed that they could have provided additional details and had a better presentation for us, and has also understood that the licensee could also do a better job with talking and discussing the matter with the community. In regard to legal representation, I have reached out to a couple of attorneys, as well as another ANC commission that has undergone a letter of protest process before, just to get some guidance and understanding of some best practices. And at the moment, it does not seem that we need legal counsel. What they did recommend is to see if we can work with the licensee and bridge the communication line between them and the community. I think one of the things that we would like to do moving forward is, one, set up some sort of meeting. And I don't know if this was something we would have to discuss as a commission, if it would be considered a special call meeting, or if it would be simply a meeting that I would set up through my SMD, but an opportunity for the community to actually talk to the licensee specifically about the request to put the retail medical dispensary on the second level of the shrimp boat, to understand the process for access to the dispensary, having to have a required medical card in order to do so, and then any concerns they have about the business itself. What is clear and has been made clear to me on more than one occasion is that whatever settlement and agreement that we make with the licensee, it cannot include anything dealing with the structure of the building that the business is in and upkeep. The APCA cannot hold the actual owner of the building liable for the conditions within the license process. That's a total separate concern that the community would express to the actual owner, but the licensee is not the owner of the shrimp boat. And so that would not be a part of the settlement, but should the owner come to that meeting, we do have an opportunity as a community to bring those concerns up. And so we are scheduled to have a hearing on January 15th. We have requested that that date be changed to a later date, as we want more time to kind of really see what can come from the situation, and to give the community more time to voice their concerns about the matter or support. There are some people who may support the dispensary. The other thing that I'm putting in place is I have a form that I will be giving a link out to, where constituents can complete it and let us know if they have concerns or if they have support for the dispensary. And we'll use that as a way to collect input and as outreach as well. So I'll stop there and answer any questions anyone has for me.
Thank you, Commissioner Nelson, for sharing all that you shared around this process. I want to open the floor if there are any community members who might have questions that you want to bring to Commissioner Nelson's attention at this time. Ms. Natalie? I'm sorry, for the purpose of our record keeping, can you, Claudia, can we pass the mic? Thank you.
Hi, this is Natalie Green speaking. What was the gist of the discussion today when the attorney was present?
Yeah, thank you for asking. So in the conversation that I had with the attorney and the mediator, I gave a timeline of events that have occurred since the last time we did mediation. So I essentially told them that Commissioner Ruff and I went to the actual dispensary location, and they gave us a walkthrough of the layout of what they would have the dispensary set up as. We did not meet with the licensee during that particular meeting because there seemed to be some miscommunication on the owner and the licensee side of who should be and the attorney side of who should be present in that meeting. And so the licensee was not present, just the building owner. And then I also informed the mediator that during the general commission meeting, there was community dissent against when in regard to the actual license being granted, and there was community input expressing that they did not feel that it was an appropriate location for a dispensary. I also informed her that I had did some door knocking about on a Saturday about 2 weeks ago. I knocked on doors within a 2 to 3 block radius of the dispensary and spoke to the residents to just inform them about what was going on and to gather input on their feelings on that. We did have one resident that did not seem to have any concerns about it, and then the rest of them did seem to not want it there. I also informed the mediator that I sat across from what is the unlicensed dispensary that is operating on the Central Avenue side of the building and witnessed several people utilizing the unlicensed dispensary and watch vehicles parked there in the residential block, and there being a line formed as people were going in and out of there. Um, the owner of the shrimp boat did address the issue with a fence on the East Capitol side that was protruding into the sidewalk. He had that fixed, and he also got some of the shrubbery cut back on the Central Avenue side. That was the Blaine, the central side, where there was some shrubbery hanging over the sidewalk, and he got that cleaned up. So that was the gist of what I reported out to the mediator, and the attorney agreed with all of the updates that I gave. The biggest piece that I want to make sure that I communicate to the community is that the board, the APCA board, has already been provided information about the appropriateness and suitability of that business being located there. And so what that means is that they have already done some sort of assessment on whether or not it's appropriate for that business to be there. And they have, and the applicant cannot move forward unless it has been determined it is a suitable or appropriate location for such business. And so as a community, if we do not agree with that, then it is up to us to be able to express and prove that it is not a suitable or appropriate location for that business. But it cannot be based off of discrimination. It cannot be based off of the structure of the building and upkeep, because in most cases, we don't even usually have access to the owners of the buildings where dispensaries are leasing out of. And we have to make sure that when we give our statements and testimony that we're doing it with fairness, but with honesty. So the best thing that I think we can do as a community is first learn more about what a medical dispensary is, how it operates, and whether or not it's suitable for our community based off of what a medical dispensary is and how it operates versus how we feel. And we cannot also say we don't want it there based off of our personal morals, right? So there's a few things that we have to be mindful of in this process moving forward. So I'll stop there. I hope I answered your question, and if not, let me know.
Okay, one quick follow-up. At our last meeting, somebody said to me at the end of the meeting, there can only be one medical dispensary per ward. Do we know if that's true?
I can tell you that I personally do not know if that's true.
I don't believe so.
What I can say on that is that we only have two over here. And
Currently, we have two.
currently legal. The one that was legal, that was in Deanwood, is closed because of building issues and rent. Anacostia Organics that's in Anacostia across the street from the big chair. She's still there. But they're having financial difficulties within the structure of selling this because you got to sell a lot of weed to pay that fee to the government. So that's why you see pop-ups, because pop-ups are more easier. You put them in a little closed location, dented, dim lighting area. Everybody knows where it is through social network. And so that's how they thrive until the government shuts them down. But legally, like we're saying about this one, is that we just don't, there's not one over here in Ward 7. So the residents will still feel kind of slighted a little bit because there is nothing here.
And to be
You know,
clear, there's illegal, there's unlicensed, and then there's licensed, right? So we also need to be clear about the categories that we refer to dispensaries as, because the one, it is unclear to me whether, to me, it sounds as if the one that's on Central Avenue is unlicensed. It's not necessarily illegal, right? So we have to be mindful of the language that we're using during this process, how we're describing things, as we're navigating it, because it does make a difference if a dispensary is illegal, unlicensed, and licensed.
So that would be considered a gifting shop if it is illegal. So for the gifting shop, you basically cannot sell the marijuana or any type of marijuana product to the person. You don't have to have a license. You just need to show that you are of legal age. And you would simply just say, hey, do you have a gifting section? Or can I see your gifting book? Or can I get stickers? Things like that. That is another way to distinguish the difference between the shops. And then also to your question, Ms. Natalie, I think that is true slightly. I'll look it up before we leave and close out tonight. What is Africa's rule on how many shops can be in that area? But if I think correctly, I think you're onto something. And so we don't have one over here anymore since cannabis has moved because they said the rent was too high. So they went to Northwest. So
Is that the
current,
one that was at Sheriff Road?
yes,
at
ma'am.
Dave Brown's liquor
Dave
store?
Brown's, yeah.
Yes, ma'am. So, but like I said, I'll look that up tonight on the website before we leave.
Thank you.
Anything else question related? Any other commissioners have questions? I do not see anything further related to this matter in the Zoom questions.
Someone asked why are we the application to sell out of the shrimp boat. So the reason we're protesting it initially when I what brought the concerns up, there was community input that they did not want a dispensary located at the shrimp boat. There were concerns about the location, noise, parking, loitering, littering, things of that sort. And there were concerns about the appropriateness of a dispensary being located right there on that corner. So in response to that, we submitted a letter of protest to that license in the license application, and that's where we're at right now. I hope that answers your questions.
I was wondering, based on the license protest, what is the timeline that the council has to follow to either stop this dispensary from operating in the shrimp boat space, or if it doesn't meet those deadlines, is the business able to just operate by default?
So the question was, what is APCA's timeline around the process for the protest? And if the timeline elapses, does the business just get to move forward with operations?
So I want to be clear. The business that's currently operating on the ground level is not this, in my understanding is not the same licensee, same person that's asking for a license on the second floor. That is what I understand. These are two different operations. And so going back to your timeline, right now, the timeline that we're working with is we're in mediation with a request to try to come to a settlement on the license being granted to the current application for the dispensary on the second floor, which to my understanding is that licensee does not have an affiliation with what is happening on the central side of the building on the ground level. We were scheduled for a hearing on January 25th. We have requested for a continuance, which means that hearing will be pushed out to either the latter half of January or sometime in February, most likely, if we do not come to a settlement agreement with the licensee. We will move into a hearing. If we come up with a settlement, then we will not need to do a hearing. The hearing is if we say as a community, we still do not want this dispensary. We have met with the licensee. We don't think this is still a good or appropriate business model for this particular area. And we would like to go to a hearing to go before the APCA board to express testimony and give input on why we feel this is not an appropriate business for our community.
Yes, I would
you.
like to know what is a
I'm sorry,
pop-up.
1 second. Can we ensure that the mic is on for record keeping purposes? It's on?
It's on.
Okay, good.
I would like, my problem is I have COPD. What is a pop-up shop? Where do they consist of? In the area that you live in?
I'm going to tell you right now, I am not an expert. I'm learning a lot about this process as I go through it.
Yes.
So I really am not able to answer that question. They have offered some resources to me for guidelines and regulations around dispensaries, but to be honest and transparent, I do not know. That is not, I'm in uncharted territories.
Oh, okay. That's what I want to know. Thank you.
My question is, what constitutes it not being suitable for the community? Like, are there guidelines that we have to adhere to, or is there like a checklist where we can say, this is just, you know, X, Y, and Z? What's the regulations for that, I guess?
So when you protest a license, you are provided a list of reasons why you believe that the business is not suitable for that particular location. And when the business was protested, the two areas that was cited was parking and then noise, littering, loitering. Concerns. Those were the two areas that were selected. There are a few others that I cannot remember off the top of my head, and I did not believe applied for our particular area. But there are designated descriptions that you would use to, another one would be too close to a school. So you have to be at least 300 feet away from a school when you are applying for a medical dispensary license. They also look at daycares. If there is a daycare near, you have to be a certain distance from that. Recreation centers, if you're close to recreation centers, you have to be a certain distance from that. And then commercial zoning. It has to be commercially zoned. That building has to be commercially zoned in order for them to have the business in there. So those are some of the some of the descriptors that they use for appropriateness. And then the other 5, when you're protesting, or property value. If they believe the business will bring down your property value, that's another thing that you can use to protest.
Thank you.
All right, this is gonna be our last question and we gotta move.
Commissioner Nelson.
Oh, she disappeared.
No, you have the floor.
My name is Bill Knox. I live in the neighborhood. I was really concerned about the physical structure itself. Access to the second floor is not something the public currently has. That storage, that's always been storage level in that facility for the 60 years I've been acquainted with that building and the contents. So either you're gonna have to modify the interior and give some egress or some access from the outside. Has any of that been discussed in terms of feasibility, viability? Because to me, it's a nightmare just considering the concept of it. I don't know where we are with that.
Yes, so the entrance for the dispensary would be on the East Capitol side, and there is one entrance. There'll be one entrance in, one entrance out. I don't know if Commissioner Ruff wants to talk a little bit about us walking through there, but we did walk up there and we saw the layout. It's not, I wouldn't say it's small, it's a decent size, but it really is designed for people to come in and leave right back out. They do not have a layout that is there for you to lounge around. It's really to come in, get, what you're buying, and then you leave back out. So to sum up, I do want to say this. The efforts that we're doing moving forward is that I do plan on setting up a community meeting where residents such as yourselves, I know you have a lot of questions. We will meet with the licensee, their attorney, and the community, and we can discuss these questions that you all have without us having the time constraints that we have right now within this general commission meeting, and see if some of the concerns could be addressed or if they can't be addressed, and if the best move is for us to continue forward in the protest, or if we can find ways to assuage concerns and allow them to set up their business.
Thank you, Commissioner Nelson. I failed to acknowledge for the record that Commissioner Thompson-Wright and Commissioner Hayes are present, and I saw that Commissioner Thompson-Wright had came off mute. Commissioner Thompson-Wright, the floor is yours.
Good evening, everyone. I just have one question. So what they're operating now is essentially a gifting process. Is that what it is they're operating now? So what would be the difference if the neighborhood drug dealer goes and buy a bunch of t-shirts and does the same thing on the corner? How are we letting him get away with doing this and then now being able to apply for a license, which we know somebody in his family has to be operating that gifting shop out of there, because he had a lot of knowledge about what it was actually happening in the ice cream store. He was very knowledgeable about that at the last meeting, when he stated that it was an ice cream store or ice cream shop that was grand opening. So, I mean, how can we just not call him the neighborhood like drug dealer, because he gonna be on the corner? We could just tell one of them, you can do the same thing. They just have walls around them. I feel as though if he's technically breaking the law now, why wouldn't they be? Why should we grant them a legal business if that's a fight? That's what I'm trying to say.
Do you want me to
Point
respond or?
taken.
No, it was just like food for thought, because it kind of threw me off that, because Commissioner Ruff said you can go in there, you can buy a pencil or ask for your gifting items, and then they just give you the weed. So I'm just confused at how he moved from being that type of a person, and then now they want to get a legal license, or he has his wife to get this legal license. And I know he has to have a part in what's happening downstairs as well, because he was very knowledgeable about it.
Thank you, Commissioner Thompson-Wright. Commissioner Nelson, can I make a point? You mentioned the next APCA opportunity for conversation was the 25th of January.
No, what I said was that we had a hearing scheduled for January 15th, and we have
15th.
we requested a continuance, so that date will be changed. On the stance or under the guise that we are going to schedule a community meeting where people who have concerns or support the business can come to a space where we will be able to address those things with the owner of the shrimp boat. If he chooses to be there, he is not required to be there. The only person that's required to be there is the licensee, the person who's applying for the license. But the attorney will be there with them. And that will be an opportunity for us to voice concerns and see, again, whether or not we want to move forward with the actual hearing, where we would put together evidence, witness list, things of that sort to continue the protest, or if we do a settlement with the licensee and say, yes, we will allow you to, or I shouldn't say allow, but we are supporting you opening up this business under these guidelines. So there is no official date. To answer your question, there is no official date. We need to suss out some dates of when we can hold the community meeting, work with them to make sure they're present, and make sure that we get the word out to our community members so they know it's happening and they can be present if they want to be there.
Got it. Understood. One final question. Would they be required to be ADA compliant? Obviously, they're on the second floor. Is there anything around regulations around ADA compliance?
No, I actually brought that up in the first mediation because my SMD that this is impacting the most is majority elders. And they said that there is a delivery option. And so the ADA requirement is not necessary.